Okie dokie, we are live. We are live. We are live. Just a little bit of boxing talk. Any topic really. Anything goes. Whatever comes up. Obviously, this past weekend had a few fights. Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams, Keith Thurman, Mario Barrios, and of course Jesse Rodriguez versus Carlos Cuadras, which was my favourite fight of the weekend. But a decent weekend, and next weekend we have a pretty good fight between Danny Jacobs and John Ryder at 168. So I'm looking forward to that one. I think that's a really good fight. That's a bit of a crossroads fight because the loser really has nowhere to go at that point in time. So it's a must-win for both guys in that fight. Can't afford. Neither guy can afford a slip-up, in my opinion. I can't see the loser coming back from it, considering where both guys are at in their careers. So I'm looking forward to John Ryder versus Danny Jacobs. I think that's a really good fight. I'm really struggling on that one. I'm really struggling in regards to predictions. I need to make a prediction video, but I just can't. I can't settle on one guy in that fight. Big up to Archive of Sorts. Big up to yourself. Hopefully you're well. Punch Smollett. Hopefully you're well. Carlos Mendoza. Big up to Carlos. First and foremost, what did you guys think to this weekend's boxing? It was okay, especially after a few quiet weeks. It was okay. It was solid, The Keith Thurman fight, I felt Keith looked pretty good in the first 5 or 6 rounds. I felt he looked quite sharp, all things considered. But I have to be honest, as that fight played out, I felt Keith started to get a little more ragged. I felt he was hurt to the body in round 8. And I'm disappointed that Keith couldn't stop Mario Barrios, quite frankly. So was I all that impressed? Not really. Do I believe Keith Thurman poses any threat to Terence Crawford, Errol Spence? No. I wasn't all that impressed with Keith Thurman. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I expected a knockout. I expected, something special from Keith Thurman. Archive of Sorts. I'm going with John Ryder, split decision, home field advantage. Yeah, that is a factor in this fight. That is a factor in this fight, no doubt about it. And, Danny Jacobs hasn't been looking that great at 168. I wasn't impressed with him against Gabriel Rosado. And even against Chavez Jr., I've not been impressed with Danny for a little while now. So maybe John can outwork him, pressure him kind of thing, win on points. Again, I'm struggling, though. I think if Danny Jacobs turns up, he'll be tricky for John Ryder. I think he'd beat John Ryder if Danny turns up. But he's not turned up for a little while, so it's hard to say. Big up to Bruce Goes, man, every single time. TJ in the house as well. Big up to TJ. Young Revival, big up Del. Enjoyed the boxing over the weekend. Bam made himself a star in my eyes. Bam Rodriguez, Jesse Bam Rodriguez against Carlos Cuadras on less than a week's notice, jumping up in weight. That's what I want to see from young fighters. Ambition, taking risks, being proactive in regards to their careers. That's exactly what I want to see from young fighters. And he performed very well considering his age. The knockdown in the 3rd round was beautiful. Touched Cuadras with a jab. He moved to Cuadras' left and got the uppercut away, which dropped Cuadras. Beautiful shot. A la Lomachenko, the step around, uppercut, bang, dropped him. Beautiful from Bam Rodriguez. He's comfortable in the exchanges, good accuracy, good power, very poised for a young fighter, great balance, great punch variety, timing, etc. He showed a lot of good attributes in that fight. If I'm being super critical, the only thing that, in my opinion, he did a little wrong in that fight, he got a little bit too greedy. At times I felt he stood in the pocket a little bit too long. But apart from that, man, it was a great performance. And he's only going to get better. Jesse Rodriguez, he's 22 years old. That fight would have done him the world of good. 12 hard rounds against an experienced guy. Listen, man, the future is bright for Jesse Rodriguez. No doubt about it. Yeah, fuego, fire, indeed. Bam Rodriguez is the next Pacquiao. I wouldn't go that far, man, but he looks very good. He looks very good. Yeah, I heard a lot about that fight. I only basically saw a couple of rounds of that fight, and I felt Vasquez won those rounds, but I've not seen the full fight. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. It's a Monday, so, not great, but it's okay. It could be worse. I agree, Carlos. Yeah, Thurman needs a few more tune-up fights before they throw him in with the winner of Khan versus Brook. Sorry, Thurman needs a few more tune-up fights. Throw him in with the winner of Khan Brook or Mikey. Get the rounds in. I agree. Yeah, maybe not Khan Brook because those guys really are spent forces. But Mikey could be a good shout. Avanesian, Kavalauskas, those sort of guys. I think Thurman needs another one of those sort of fights. Because he looked sharp in the first sort of 5 or 6 rounds, but after that, man, I felt he started to get a bit ragged. Big up to E-Machine. Yeah, I agree. Bam is a future pound-for-pound fighter. I agree. Would you say Eubank is a top 5 middleweight? So I would rate Golovkin, Charlo, Andrade. Who else is there? Golovkin, Charlo, Andrade. Who's the other champion? Murata. I would rate those 4 over him. I would rate Munguia over him. I would say maybe 6 or 7 in the middleweight division. Something like that. 6 or 7. Yeah, I'd say about 6. I'd say about 6. But yeah, as you say, Andrade's moving up, so maybe he's top 5 now. Oh yeah, that would be a great fight. Rungvisai versus Rodriguez. That would be a great fight. Love to see it. Big up to Foul Man. Big up to yourself. I saw it live. The Ford fight was close, but the scorecards were disgusting. Yeah. I need to see it, bro. I need to see it. But I've never really been that high on Ford. And to be honest, when you look at the Matchroom USA prospects, none of these guys look all that great. None of these guys look great. I think Hearn signed a few duds, to be honest. And weirdly, yeah, he had Keyshawn Davis for a couple of fights, and he let him go. He never tried to sign him. Well, he tried to sign him, but he should have made much more of an effort to sign Keyshawn Davis because I think that kid is very good or could be very good. Does Eubank beat Derevyanchenko right now? Yes, I think he does. Yeah, I think he does. I think Derevyanchenko now is he's shop worn. Wars against Golovkin, Kolkai, tough fight against Danny Jacobs, tough fight against Charlo. Even his last fight against Adames was really tough. So I think he's pretty much done. I'm not a fan, bro. Mr. Ash, I'm not a fan of female boxing. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I think he will do, Brandon. I think now Quadras is basically a high-level gatekeeper kind of thing. That's how he's going to be used, at least. But he's still a decent fighter. Not what he was, but he's still decent. Yeah, Bam is Matchroom. Yeah, he just signed to Matchroom. Yeah, that's a good signing. But I wouldn't call him a prospect anymore. Now he's got a world title. And same goes for Montana Love. He's more of a contender, more so than a prospect. But yeah, good fighters. I said this on Twitter, Young Revival. Buatsi versus Richards is a good fight. It is solid. However, Richards, in my opinion, is not Vlasov, so that's a step down. To me, it looks like they signed for that Vlasov fight. They had second thoughts and they pulled out. That's what it seems like to me. Because if not, why not reschedule? Vlasov isn't injured. He fought in December. April would be perfect for Vlasov. So it seems like a bit of a duck, I'll be honest. I'm not saying Richards is a bad fight because Richards is decent. It's not a bad fight, but we should have had better, is what I'm saying. You know? We should have had better. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think Derevianchenko now as well, he's past it. He's taken a lot of beatings, a lot of punishment. True that, yeah. I mean, look at Devin Haney right now. It's looking like Haney versus Kambosos isn't looking likely right now. You know? So if I'm American, I wouldn't sign with Hearn unless I was a lower weight guy. One thing Hearn's done a good job at in America, in my opinion, is with the lower weights. I think he's done a pretty good job there. But if I'm like fucking anything above, like, let's say I'm featherweight and above, I wouldn't sign with Hearn if I was American. Larry Jablinski, I like that name. Me and my dad came across your channel with your Warrington Lara 2 reaction. I hope they force Warrington to fight Lara again so he gets fucking leveled. That sounds like something I'd say. Yeah, I mean, he got sent to hospital after that fight. He took a lot of punishment. Big up to Boxing Source as well, man. I'm good. That Raymond Ford kid seems to be a hype job. Looked poor in his last two against average guys. Yeah, I've not been high on him, Stephen. He looks flashy at times, but there's not much substance there, in my opinion. Yeah, Ryan Garcia now is emerging as a contender to fight George Kambosos. Wouldn't it be hilarious after like all the talk about Devin Haney and Lomachenko, fucking Ryan Garcia gets that fight? It'll be kind of funny. I'll be honest. It'll be kind of funny. And weirdly, if you look at all of those fights, you could argue that Kambosos Ryan Garcia is the best fight because put it like this: Devin Haney doesn't have a great style to watch for casuals. Lomachenko, in my opinion, would comfortably beat Kambosos, whereas Ryan Garcia might be the most competitive. You know, Ryan Garcia is vulnerable, but he does hit hard. So I think Ryan Garcia Kambosos, from a pure entertainment perspective, could be the best fight. It could be the best fight. Me personally, I don't really care who gets that fight, Lomachenko, Devin Haney, or Ryan Garcia. I like all of those fights. I'd like to see Lomachenko get it because of what he's put into the sport. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing the WBC situation cleared up. And I would also like to see Ryan Garcia Kambosos. So I don't really care how it works out unless we get one of those fights. That's all I really want, to be honest. Exactly, yeah. Fighters admire Jesse Rodriguez and Martinez taking fights at the last minute. Exactly. Sometimes you have to roll the dice in boxing and in life, you know? And that's what those two guys have done. They should do Steven Schneider because the little guys right now are doing it big. They really are. Yeah, I've watched it. Yeah, I've watched it. I felt Keith looked good in the first 5 or 6 rounds, and after that, he kind of got a bit ragged, gassed out, got hurt to the body in round 8, I think it was. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't all that impressed, to be honest. I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting a knockout from Keith Thurman. I mean, to be honest, Chris, if I had to guess, I think Lomachenko is going to get that fight. The Devin Haney thing right now seems to have gone a bit cold with Kambosos. So I think it's going to be Lomachenko. But Ryan Garcia, he's emerging as a contender to get that fight now. So who knows? To be honest, Larry, I'm not even sure whether I've seen that fight. I'm not even sure whether I've seen it. I can't even recall it, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The biggest money fight at 135 is Ryan Garcia, whether people like to admit it or not. It's going to be hard editing the interview on the 23rd. I've got no editing experience. I, what software are you using, Brandon? Yeah, Cambosos will probably win that fight, that Ryan fight, in my opinion. He could do, yeah, he could do. But I do think he could get knocked out. One thing about Ryan, he's very raw, but I do believe his power is genuine. He's very quick, he's very powerful. The thing with Ryan Garcia, I think he's a really good raw talent. I think that kid would be a threat if he wasn't such a mental midget. If he had his head screwed on, you know, I think that kid would be a real threat. And he is right now, let's be honest about it. Somebody that quick, that powerful is always going to be a threat. But with all of the raw talent that he does have, he should be much further ahead than he is now. Yeah, I could see Cambosos coming up through the middle, staying low and crouched, and coming back over with the overhand and catching Ryan Garcia. That could happen. Yes, smash the thumbs up, indeed, Ian. Yes, sir. Been watching some old Ricky Hatton fights, and the huge following he had seemed like a lifetime ago. Yeah, man. I mean, he retired what? Well, his last fight was Senchenko, but his career basically died after Manny Pacquiao. That was '09, I think, or '08. What's the next potential upset you see happening with the current boxing schedule? I think Martinez maybe against Gonzalez is possible. I think that would be seen as an upset. I think it's possible. I'm not picking it, but it's certainly possible. They're talking about Teofimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza. Barboza has a real chance in that fight if that gets made. There's a few. David Benavidez beats all of your favorite fighters. I like Benavidez, man. I like Adrian. I like David Benavidez. I think Lomachenko's going to get it. I think Lomachenko. I'm surmising that he's going to be the cheapest option. That's what I'm surmising, and I think he would take a pay cut to get that fight. So I'm surmising it will be Lomachenko as well. I don't think so, man. Broner's going to get cashed out by somebody, probably by Conor Benn. I've not seen the interview though. Yeah, seeing Thurman's hair made me realise time really does fly. Yeah, he looks so odd with that hairstyle. He needs to shave it off, man. Just shave it off and be done with it. His hairline now is basically at the back of his neck. It's crazy. Not much, man. Not much. Just talking shit, man. Just talking shit. For audio, I use Audacity, Brandon. But I'm not sure whether you can interview somebody on Audacity. I'm not sure. Big up to Nordic, man. Big up to Nordic. No. No. Nah. I didn't see it. 2018, I would say. No, 2006 on paper, but 2018 performed better. On paper, the 2006 squad was pretty good, but it never really worked out. That's how I see it, TJ. That's how I see it with Ryan Garcia. His raw physical attributes make him dangerous, but technically he does a lot wrong. Yeah, I heard Robert Easter got shot in a robbery or something like that. Yeah, fingers crossed he pulls through. AJ over Usyk, yeah, I'd see that as a bit of an upset at this point. Josh Taylor, yeah, 2 weeks' time. He's fighting Jack Catterall, undisputed, defending undisputed. Down in Scotland, yeah. He got jumped by 7 of his goons. Damn. That's the thing, though. When you make it and you hang around where you grew up, especially if it's working class and poor, a lot of people will see you a certain way. They'll get jealous and they'll want what you have. If I ever made it like that, I will not. I'll move. I would move. Of course, man. I love Guinness. I love Guinness. I fucking love Guinness, man. Big up to Guillermo, man. Guillermo 1822. This channel made me want to get into boxing. Thank you, man. It's a great sport. When boxing is done right, it's the best sport in the world. The problem is the politics and things like that. It kind of ruins it, but at its best, boxing is the best. I hope this year we see Beterbiev versus Smith and Bivol versus Ramirez, and the winners fight for undisputed, and Canelo then moves up to take on the winner. That'd be good, yeah. I really want to see Beterbiev Smith. That's in negotiations. It's looking like that is a real possibility for April or May, so that'll be good. And yeah, light heavyweight needs to deliver. It really does. Sorry, pardon me. Good fight. Yeah, that's a good fight. Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. I've got Shakur on points. I think stylistically he has the advantages in that fight. Valdez is dangerous in regards to his punching power, but I would take Stevenson on points. And I think Stevenson is getting better. Yeah, Sky Sports News, man. I used to watch that all the time as a kid. Yeah, nevertheless. No, Conor Benn takes that title right now, bump of K. I saw him trying to call out Chris Eubank Jr. That's just a clout chase, in my opinion. Just a clout chase. Big up to West Cork. Evening, folks. Greetings from Ireland. Greetings to you too, sir. I'd pick Ryan to beat Tank. I'm not sure, man. That could really be a case of who lands first. I'm not sure. I could not call that fight. I don't think it would go the distance, though. I can say that. Yeah, big up to the Londoner in the sticks. Yeah, I mean, Joe Smith can punch. He can punch. So he's got a chance. But I could see Beterbiev collapsing the pocket in that fight and smothering Smith while getting his own work off. Beterbiev is very good at that. He can really stifle you on the inside. So I think Joe in this fight needs to elect to trade at mid-range. Ideally, that's when he could catch Beterbiev. Yeah, if Joe Smith takes this fight, I'll take back my criticisms of Joe Smith. You know, Joe Smith's a good fighter, though. He's a tough guy. He can punch hard, very aggressive. He's fit. He's strong. We'll see. It's a dangerous fight. It is a dangerous fight for Beterbiev. Yeah, boxing's open to anybody. And you can either fight or you can't. At the end of the day, you can either fight or you can't. It depends. I hope Stevenson builds on his performance against Jamel Herring and stands there a bit more and throws a few combinations. You know, I'm expecting him to box, but I just want to see him be a bit more open with his offense, or a bit more creative with his offense, kind of thing. Who knows? Realistically, how much longer do you think the PBC is going to last? Aren't they reaching the end of their Fox deal, which isn't going well from what I've heard? I've heard the same thing in regards to the Fox deal, which is which I'm sure we're going to get some information on soon. But they seem pretty good with Showtime still. So I think losing the Fox deal, it would be a blow, but it wouldn't be the end of PBC. I'm not sure. I think they'll be around a few more years. I think eventually they'll get bought out by somebody. I think that's what's going to happen with PBC once Al Heyman gets sick of it, or or he's not making as much. I think he'll sell PBC and sell his fighters contracts. That's what I think will happen. When that happens, I'm not sure. Yeah, no doubt. He's got all of the potential. And the last performance was impressive in my opinion. I enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need a good year. We need a good year. Yeah, you're absolutely right about the politics, but it looks like we have some good fights this year in all divisions. So I hope it stays that way. Yeah, fingers crossed. You mean? I think the other guy was meaning in like the literal sense in the ring, like like running kind of thing. But yes, Shakur. I mean, he's fought Jamel Herring going into a fight with Oscar Valdez. He's fighting good guys right now. So you can't say Shakur's ducking anybody. I think it's 50-50, TJ. I really do. Like, if Tank lands on Ryan, Ryan's getting knocked out. But if Ryan lands on Tank, how do we know how good Tank's chin is? He's not been hit as hard he's not been hit as hard as Ryan could hit him. So to me, that's 50-50. I would say Beterbiev. I would say Beterbiev. See, that's what I'm thinking, West Cork. If I'm Cambosos, I would rather fight Haney because Haney's a guy who, in his last couple of fights, he looks like a guy who's struggling with weight. He's not hitting hard. He got rocked against Linares. He got buzzed against Jojo Diaz, who isn't a big puncher. I'd be fancying my chances against Devin Haney if I'm Cambosos. I think it's a potentially more winnable fight than Lomachenko, in my opinion. That's the fight I would take if I was what's his face? If I was Cambosos. Yes, big up to Felipe Percha, by the way, for the super sticker. Much appreciated, bro. Thank you for the contribution. Big up to Felipe. He's here every single stream, so big up to Felipe. That's a really good fight. If Adonis catches Canelo, he's in trouble because Adonis's power was real. His left hand was real. The only problem was he was kind of one-dimensional with it. And if Canelo gets a read on that, you could see Canelo making Adonis miss and maybe outpointing him. I think stylistically that fight isn't bad for Canelo. It's just the size of Adonis and the power. Because skill for skill, Canelo is levels above. I'm not sure about that. Tank Davis, to me, back in 2017 or 2016, when he beat Pedraza, at that point in time, it looked like he had the world at his feet. He could achieve what he wanted to. However, since then, he's not really fought for guys to back that up. And in my opinion, he's not got any better as a fighter. And to me, that's a consequence of him not fighting top competition. So I'm not sure with Tank right now. I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, share, and subscribe. Indeed. But yeah, big up to Felipe again. Much appreciated, bro. I used to box a bit, so my experience in boxing is getting down the gym at 16. Doing the usual, sparring a lot. I was supposed to have an amateur fight at 17 or 18. The amateur fight got set. It was scheduled. The guy pulled out. Didn't get a replacement. After that, my circumstances changed. Got a new job, and boxing just became a lot harder to take up, really. So I kind of fucked it off. Life got in the way, I guess. One of those ones. But yeah, I'll go down the gym now and again. Not much these days, though. Yeah, that's the only annoying thing about him. It's like Devin Alexander. He used to do that as well. Tank is a bum. He's a guy who hasn't made the most of his potential. How long do you think Eddie sticks around in boxing? Doesn't seem to have an obvious replacement for AJ once he retires, pinning a lot on Conor, to be fair, yeah. Yeah, Eddie right now seems to be under pressure. I've seen him, he's getting a bit tetchy in interviews. He's lost the purse bid. It looks like he's fumbling the Devin Haney Cambosos fight. AJ just lost. You know, DAZN did not get the BT, didn't acquire BT, which is huge in the UK. I don't think people realise how big that is, or how bad that is for DAZN and their future growth. Because despite what people say, boxing is not a big sport in the UK. It's not. It's a big sport when Joshua fights. It's a big sport when Fury fights. It's going to be big when Kelbrook and Khan fight. But these sort of events are, what, 3 or 4 times a year? Boxing doesn't have a great core audience. It really doesn't. The casuals come out in force for certain fights, but it's not a big sport in the UK. You can't sell a subscription channel based on boxing alone. And that's why DAZN are going to struggle in the UK. They need other sports, in particular Premier League football and Champions League football, which they would have got if they got BT. But now they don't. But now they don't have that. I think DAZN are going to struggle. I do wonder whether Hearn's regretting leaving Sky. Big up to Lack74. Big up to Lack. Yeah, that's the fight. That was in my opinion, that was the fight. That would have been the best fight to see in like 2014, 2015, 2016. And it's one of the big what ifs in boxing in the last few years. What if those two guys fought each other? How would it gone down? But yeah, in retrospect, I think both guys deserve criticism for it, to be honest, because obviously Stevenson first fumbled it when he left. He left HBO, basically killing the fight. And after that, Kathy Duva, she asked for WBC to apply purse bids for Stevenson. The purse bids happened, and then they pulled out for some reason. So I think both guys deserve a bit of stick for it not happening. Honestly, I think both guys would have taken it, but you know, people got their claws in. Oh yeah, he looked terrible. He looked absolutely terrible, Mr. Relax. Kamil Sakalavsky made him look bad. I know he was out of shape though, but still. If Canelo saw a prime Adonis Stevenson walking down the street, he'd cross the road. Oh, they're saying Zhilei Zhang's accepted the Hrgovic fight. Big up to Zhilei Zhang. At least he's got a big pair of balls. I don't think he's that good, to be honest. But at least we're going to get an eliminator now. That's good. That's positive. Yeah, exactly, Nordic. Yeah, he looked like garbage. Wally needs to lose weight and get committed if he wants to be a champion one day. I don't think he'd ever be a champion, but he could be a solid fringe top 10, top 15 contender, that sort of thing. I mean, I think the fight that made sense for Otto Wallin was always Robert Helenius. That would be an interesting fight. And yeah, he looked awful. I think he's decent, but a lot of people just went over the top with Otto Wallin. He's a good European level heavyweight at his best, in my opinion. Linares would school Tank. It depends. I think he's more skilled than Tank, absolutely. But can he stay out of the way of that power? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think he'd get caught, to be honest, especially now. I think he'd get caught. Yeah, Linares now is past it, but people forget like Linares has always been incredibly skilled. His problem has always been his chin. He doesn't have a great chin. Yeah, we'll see with Eddie Hearn. Yeah, that's Eddie being Eddie, you know. It's interesting though. A lot of people are kind of getting sick of Eddie Hearn. That's what it appears. A lot of people seem to be, I don't know, losing faith in him. I guess I would say. Yeah, boxing is slowing down in the UK. Not many people are interested anymore. Exactly. Yeah. Like, how many people are going to watch John Ryder versus Danny Jacobs? Not many. Which is a great fight, but like, it's only certain fights in the UK, like Joshua Fury, Dillian White to a lesser degree. Khan versus Brook will get a lot of attention, but it's really not many fights. I mean, Josh Taylor, undisputed, and if you walk down the street and you asked 100 people who is Josh Taylor, maybe 4 or 5 of them might know who he is. It's crazy. I'm the same, Stephen. I'm the same. I don't know anybody who follows boxing hardcore. Again, they'll watch for Joshua fights, they'll watch for Fury fights, but there's no hardcore boxing fans that I know. None at all. It's crazy. Big up to Mike. Big up to Mike. Hopefully you're doing well, Mike. Yeah, I want to see those odds as well. I'd imagine Fury is favourite, but like maybe not a huge favourite. Saying like 6-4, something like that. Yeah, I never caught that. I never caught that. Agree with you, Del. DAZN in the UK, I don't see how they sustain themselves showing just Matchroom, who are on the verge of having no marquee fighters and Golden Boy cards. Is AJ still with Sky? Yeah, Eddie Hearn seemed very non-committal in regards to Joshua and where his next fight is going to be. If you're Anthony Joshua, you're a free agent, like network-wise. Why would you risk a sure thing? You know, on Sky Sports, you're going to get the reach. You know, you're going to get marketed. You know, your pay-per-view is easily accessible in millions of homes. DAZN is a startup in the UK, right? I don't know anybody who has DAZN. Why would Joshua risk it and go to DAZN? Makes no sense to me, especially if it's based on pay-per-view numbers, because they're not going to sell as many as Sky. It's just that simple. They don't have a marketing. Sky have Sky Sports News. They can advertise boxing before Premier League football. They've got the marketing behind them. They've got the advertisement behind them. DAZN have none of that. DAZN have none of that. That's what it seems like right now. Not quite Box Nation level, to be honest. There is a bit more hype about DAZN than Box Nation, but yeah, they could get into that same problem. Sakalovsky beats Babic with ease. I'd like to see it, Albanian boxer. I'd like to see it. Do you think the Shakur fight will be pay-per-view, and how do you reckon it does against Taylor Serrano? No, I think it'll be regular ESPN. And again, Pimp My Sniper, in terms of live TV audience, I think Shakur versus Valdez does bigger numbers. We have no idea how many people watch DAZN. No idea at all. Whereas ESPN are the biggest sports broadcasters in America. I think it's safe to assume they do better TV numbers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. No way, focus on creativity. Not gonna happen, bro. Not gonna happen. I'm just not a fan, man. I'm not a fan. Yeah, Batsagaziev, yeah, Southpaw, Olympic gold medalist, coming off a really good win, Billy, against Franklin Manzilian, who was a former world title challenger, went the distance with Ray Vargas, and Batsagaziev knocked him out in 4 or 5 rounds. So he's looking really promising. Is he? I think he's featherweight. He's looking really promising. He's featherweight. I think he's featherweight. Yeah, he's featherweight or super featherweight, one of the two. Yeah, yeah. Again, I was picking. I done a prediction for that fight. I picked Dillian White. I forget whether I think it was by late stoppage. I predicted, but still, that fight should have happened, man. Dillian pulled out. We know why Dillian pulled out, man. Oh, Samuel Antwi, whatever his name was. I could see that happening. I could see that happening. I never saw that fight though on the undercard, so I don't know how good he is. Exactly, yeah. No word of a Lydell. And Nordic is from Scotland, by the way. No word of a Lydell. I mentioned Josh Taylor to some of my colleagues, and not one of them had heard of him. That's crazy. That's crazy. A Scottish undisputed world champion, and nobody knew who he was. That's crazy. And you live in Scotland, right? That's crazy. That is crazy. Oh yeah, Albanian boxer. Yeah, McKinson's getting fucking slept against Virgil Ortiz. He's getting fucked up. He's going to get run over like a Mack truck. It's crazy. That's a fair play to him. Hopefully, he gets paid well. I mean, I disagree, man. I think it's harsh to blame one guy for for how boxing is now. I think the fans are partly responsible. To be honest, I think us fans, need to look at ourselves more because we should be forcing these fights a lot harder than we are. We get certain fans on social media, accept ducking. They will play the business side of things and basically suck up to promoters, feeding their narratives and accepting them. These fanboy cliques, we see it on YouTube. These guys will bat for certain promoters and shit on others, etc., etc. So I think us fans, particularly like the YTBC, we've got a lot to answer for, in my opinion. We've got a lot to answer for. It's a whole clusterfuck, man. There's numerous reasons for why boxing is the way it is. I think another big reason is because a lot of these fighters are overpaid. A lot of these guys are overpaid. And what incentive does that give a fighter to take a risk? If you're getting paid X amount of dollars, let's say $1 million to fight a D-level fighter, why would you fight an A-level fighter for 2 million when you can fight two D-level fighters and get the same money? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I mean, look at Devin Haney and Kambosos, for example. Kambosos is pretty certain he wants that fight in Australia, right? And there's rumors going around that Haney's priced himself out. That's a rumor right now. I think Haney got paid, I heard $4 million against Jojo Diaz. So what does he want to fight Kambosos in Australia? If he's getting 4 million to fight Jojo Diaz, what on earth is he going to want for Kambosos in Australia? Is it even feasible at that point? Do you know what I'm trying to say? And obviously Kambosos, he's the champion. He's going to want the lion's share. So how can you even pay Devin Haney 4 million for that fight? These inflated purses kill fighters' desire. Absolutely, but it kills their desire to take risks and be great. That's why you see these lightweight guys take these risks. These lighter weight guys, they're not getting paid as much. The likes of Roman Gonzalez, Estrada, Quadras, Jesse Rodriguez. Julio Cesar Martinez. These guys aren't getting that sort of money, so they need to roll the dice. They have to. Whereas if you're Devin Haney, if I'm getting paid $4 million to fight Jojo Diaz, would I fight Kambosos in Australia for $5 million? Probably not. Probably not. There's a lot of problems with boxing. I think it's harsh to just point at Floyd Mayweather. And I'm not a fan of Floyd, as you guys know. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Sakalovsky's a real fighter. Indeed, he is. I remember Roque Santa Cruz. Yeah, great player. Great player. Yeah, I think if Charlo wins that fight, he'll move up Vector 04. This is what I think is going to happen. If Charlo wins, he'll move to 160 because Big Charlo is going to go to 168 to fight Canelo. That's what I think is going to happen. Yeah, the card was horrible. Yeah, but the undercard was terrible from what I saw. The main event was all right. I didn't like how Eubank kind of coasted, though, in the second half. He gave away rounds. He could have stopped Liam Williams. He should have stopped Liam Williams in that fight. Yeah, Tim Tszyu versus Terrell Gausha. That's a good fight. That's a good test for Tim Tszyu. And I think that's his American debut as well. I saw their adverts on TV when they first launched the Londoner in the sticks. It was around the time of Billy Joe Saunders Canelo. I saw some adverts on terrestrial TV for DAZN back then, but I've not seen any since. Good prospect, yeah. I think he's one of the most exciting heavyweight prospects right now. Good prospect. I mean, it's hard to say, though, with heavyweights. It's hard to say. Heavyweights is so hard to predict when it comes to prospects. It really is. It really is. But he looks good. But we need to see him get hit, though. We need to see him take a shot on the chin. We need to see how he goes late in fights. There's still question marks, but he looks good. Yeah, there is an element to that. I think he definitely contributed to the whole having an O narrative, no doubt about it. That much is true. That much is true. I'm not saying he's not culpable for any wrongs in boxing today, but all I'm saying is people who solely point at Mayweather for ruining boxing, I think they are very misguided. In my opinion, I think it's a whole lot of factors. It's a whole lot of factors. Just my opinion. Yeah, Dennis McCann. He looked promising early on. I have to confess, I've not been as impressed in recent fights. But he's good. He has talent. He's worth watching out for, you know? I'm calling you crazy, Bump of K. I'm calling you crazy. Exactly, bro. And somebody told me, oh, if you don't buy a pay-per-view, you're not a boxing fan, you're not supporting the sport. No, I'll pay for something when I deem it worthy. So, for example, I paid for Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis. It was a fight I really wanted to see, and I supported it, you know? And as a consumer, if I see something that's bullshit, a bullshit pay-per-view, I wouldn't buy it. Like Khan versus Brook. I'm going to stream it. I'm not going to buy that shit. I'd have bought it in 2015, but I'm not going to fucking bend down and hand over my money for anything. Because you're going to get the same shit. Yeah, I saw that picture, Punch. I saw that picture. Honestly, I think, listen, I'm assuming Billy Joe is done now. I'm assuming he's done. I think Eubank could beat him. I really do. I mean, go back and watch that first fight. The narrative is that Billy Joe Saunders scored Chris Eubank Jr. That's partially true. In the first 6 rounds, Billy Joe was schooling Chris Eubank Jr. But as soon as that gas tank started to drain, Eubank Jr. won the majority of the second half. It was a relatively close fight. Billy Joe Saunders won, but it wasn't the schooling that people made it out to be. It wasn't the one-sided fight people made it out to be, you know? So in a rematch, I think Billy Joe's got worse, significantly worse, and I think Chris Eubank Jr. is a little better. So I'd probably pick Eubank Jr. in a rematch. I'd probably pick Chris Eubank Jr. And you know, we can criticize Eubank Jr., but he's definitely more dedicated than Billy Joe. I'll say that much. He's definitely more dedicated than Billy Joe. Top 5 fighters, hard one. I'd say Beterbiev, Alexander Usyk, Julio Cesar Martinez, Roman Gonzalez, and I'd say Naoya Inoue, maybe. Like, there are other guys out there who I used to really like who are kind of fell down my list. Like, Errol Spence is the perfect example. He was my favourite welterweight for a long time, but the inactivity, the whole Terence Crawford debacle it's kind of soured me to Spence a little bit. Out of all of the active guys, Spence is still my favourite welterweight, but he's been moving crazy recently, man. Exactly, TJ. But that's my problem, though. Like, I see these Matchroom bots, they'll criticise PBC for overpaying fighters, but they'll never look at Eddie Hearn, who did the exact same thing when he got that DAZN deal. He did the exact same thing. I mean, look at Demetrius Andrade, paying this guy multi-millions to fight the likes of Luke Keeler and Arthur Akavov. If you're getting paid that silly money to fight, let's be honest, crap fighters, why would you fight a dangerous unknown in Janibek? Why would you? When you're getting paid the same money. So from Andrade's point of view, taking my fan perspective out of it, from his point of view, I understand what he's doing. He's been pampered. Why would you fight Janibek if you're Andrade? That's the world we live in now with boxing. She's all right, yeah. Yeah, he needs to prove himself. The Linares win was good for the time. That was a good step up, but I really wasn't all that impressed with the Jojo Diaz fight. I think I remember hearing DAZN were going to work with other media companies like BBC in return for advertising. That could be a decent strategy. Yeah, that could be, yeah, but I've not heard anything of it. Yeah, basically, yeah, Haney and Andrade are the face of DAZN. Can't see Eddie letting him leave America. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, similar to the Andrade fight. Andrade was another one. He should have got rid of Liam Williams early on. He should have got rid of him. Should have got rid of him. Liam Williams missed the December date because he still had PEDs in his system, left Booth and wasn't back on the Ingles Pringles. That's my theory. You could be right. Yeah, honestly though, I don't think Liam Williams fought a particularly great fight. Even when he was winning rounds, man, he was smothering his own work. He was resorting to like lacing and shit like that, going in with a head. Like he fucked his own work up, man. From like rounds 5 to 10 or 5 to 11, whatever it was. He fucked his own work up. He smothered himself, man. Because he was coming in nicely behind the jab. But he should have maintained that distance and threw power shots on the front foot, but he just smothered himself, man. He smothered himself. Big up to MJ. Big up to MJ. Dave Allen beats Prime Ali in 2 rounds. I'll tell you what. They was talking about Dave Allen versus that big fucking lump who was on the card. What was his name? Steve Robinson. Dave Allen would knock that guy out clean. That's saying something. Yeah, I know Nordic wasn't impressed with Eubank Jr. I felt he looked good in the first 4. He looked super sharp. His jab was on point. Some nice little snappy counters. But after that, man, he just tailed off. He tailed off. Disappointing. That could have been his statement performance. It should have been his statement performance. To be honest. Yeah, I think that's the fight that's going to happen, Luis. I think that's going to happen. I think that's the fight that will do well on pay-per-view in America, or on Showtime. Again, you know, Eddie's offered him a deal to fight Bivol and Golovkin, but Showtime have a pay-per-view model where Canelo's going to get paid more. So I think he's going to fight Charlo. Eubank had a mental breakdown. Who's he going to fight next, though? That's the question. He's talking about Golovkin, but Golovkin's fighting Murata, so that's not going to happen. Andrade's moving up. Charlo is looking likely to fight Canelo. Who's Eubank even going to fight next? Munguia's doing Munguia. I'm not sure what he's doing. He seems to be going his own route. Like, could you see Eubank versus Rosado, maybe? I think Rosado could be a good shout for Eubank's next fight, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, I've heard that a lot, John McSmith. I've heard that a lot. It's such a dumb fucking argument. It's like those people who say, if you don't vote, you can't complain. It's such a dumb narrative, mate. It's a dumb narrative. I would say Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, they're the 2 that come to mind. Maybe David Benavidez as well. Yeah, drop it. Yeah, smack the like. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Saunders' gas tank fucked him in that fight, and it was a lot closer than it should have been. And in a rematch where Billy Joe's been out, he's got 1 foot out of the door. I think the same thing would happen again, but worse. To be honest, I just can't count on Saunders. I can't count on him at all. Yeah, he was a lot bigger on the night. Again, Billy Joe Saunders is fucking lazy. I mean, when he turned pro, people were saying he should have been at 154. He's just fucking lazy. That's the thing, Neil Simpson. That's the thing. Billy Joe Saunders is shot. He will decide whether the money is worth living with the fact that Eubank beat him. Exactly, yeah, exactly, Neil. And I think we know Billy Joe has a price, so I think it could happen. Yeah, that would be nice to see, Ian Wood. That would be nice to see more Americans coming over here and regularly fight our fighters and vice versa. That would be good to see, yeah. Isn't that on ESPN in the States? I'm pretty sure. Billy Joe Saunders. My top 5 favourites are Gonzalez, Usyk, Loma, Beterbiev, and Inoue. Good, solid list there. I'd rather listen to Balkan war music than watch a Joe Laws fight. Yeah, he's terrible. I need to get a fire stick, Foul Man. I need to get a Falafel Man. I need to get a fire stick. I'd like to see Sonny Edwards. Honestly, there's so many fights I want to see him in. So, you know, Delakian, for example, would be a really good fight. Junto Nakatani, Julio Cesar Martinez, any one of those sort of fights. Bam Rodriguez himself, if Rodriguez goes back down to flyweight, any one of those fights, don't really mind. He's got a lot of options. Even his Mando, Ricardo Sandoval, I'm telling you, that kid is good. He is good. And I'll tell you what, Sandoval versus Jesse Rodriguez in a couple of years' time, that could be a lower weight super fight. That will be a good fucking fight. I mean, super impressed with Jesse Rodriguez. Super impressed. But Sandoval is good. I'm telling you, he's good. And he's a similar age as well. I think he's 22, 23 as well. Very young. Haney is the Yank Conor Ben. Fugazi Hearn bollocks. Zach Parker can punch, but he's so unproven. It's hard to say how good he is. He does have some skills. He's got nice timing, nice accuracy, a decent jab. He does have skills, Zach Parker, but it's hard to say what level he is. He's just not fought anybody. So, who knows? I know Nordic rates Zach Parker. Nordic's been talking about Zach Parker for a few years now. I think he's decent. But I just don't know how good he is. I don't see him and think, damn, this guy's definitely that guy, but he's solid. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, yeah, the inactivity with Errol Spence, yeah. But apparently now he's settled down outside the ring. Apparently he's living on his farm in Texas. He's got a ranch, he's got horses, he's got chickens, he's got cows and all that shit. And he's living life now. At least he's not getting drunk and doing stupid shit anymore. Fair play to him. That sounds like retirement life to me, though. Sounds good, but it sounds like retirement life. I don't blame you, John. I don't blame you. Yo, Channel 5 boxing at times can be pretty lit. The main events are usually pretty good. Yeah, Josh Taylor's another one I like. But there's too many good. Listen, there's too many fighters I like to name 5. Honestly, there's too many fighters I like. I told you, I got Parker beating Andrade. Andrade is overrated. We shall see. We shall see. It could be. Listen, man. It could be one of those scenarios where it could be a huge mistake. You never know. Maybe he gets caught by Zach Parker. Yeah, Erislandy Lara versus Eubank could happen because Lara's highly ranked in the WBA, as is Eubank. That'd be a good fight. But he's not going to go anywhere near Lara. Lara has all of the skills to make Eubank look ordinary, even now at his age. Like a prime Lara would play with Eubank. He would play with Eubank. Honestly, I always thought Erislandy Lara was a really good boxer in his day, in his prime. I always felt he got kind of unfairly lumped in with Rigondeaux. He wasn't quite that boring. He did have some good fights. He did have some good fights, like with Angulo, Canelo, Jarrett Hurd, Castano. Lara actually had good fights. If you made him fight, he would fight. You know, unlike Rigondeaux. But yeah, Lara, even now, would give Eubank all types of problems. All types of problems. Oh yeah, he's dreadful, Steve Robinson. Absolutely dreadful. Dave Allen would knock him out. He's dreadful. Edwin Valero, one of the biggest what-ifs in boxing history. I mean, he was on the verge. He died in 2010, right? Well, he killed his wife and then killed himself in 2010. And now at that time, he was on the verge of going to 140, and he could have fought the likes of Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez, Juan Baby Bull Diaz. There were so many fights out there for him at that time. Amir Khan was at 140 back in those days. Like, Edwin Valero would have been in so many good fights at 140. It's a shame we never saw them. Such a shame. Could have been Tim. He could have been in there with Tim Bradley as well. Big up to BG London. Salute. Yeah, Naz on the flying carpet was good. I always liked the Klitschko entrances, to be honest. George Grove's entrance against Carl Froch was pretty funny. IPTV is the best if you're a boxing fan and know how to use tech. It's a no-brainer, perfect HD every time. I'll have a look, Falafel Man. I'll have a look. Yep, I'm being deadly serious. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I'll die on that sword as well. Or I'll die on that hill, sorry. It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. And it's crazy, yeah. I've been following the YTBC long before I started uploading. And I see a lot of people whose opinion has completely turned around. They used to be in my position. Like it's just a no in regards to female boxing. And now a lot of guys are pushing it. Now I wonder, do they genuinely enjoy it, or are they just kind of pushing that narrative because it makes their life easier? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I don't like it, and that's the end of it. But the way he went out, Joe, to me was concerning. When you go out like that, it is concerning. Like, I don't believe his eye was fractured. You know, I just think he got caught by a big shot and he jacked it, basically. But who knows? Stylistically, he's still bad for Eubank, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But I don't know. Eubank is fitter. He's stronger. You know, I think he's more. I think he's the more hungry right now. Objectively, that's a fact. Yeah, biggest American star in boxing is Jake Paul. Jake Paul is the money man in American boxing. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Apparently, he looks fat as a pig. Steve Robinson, Jesus. If he's got a pro license, then there's hope for us all. I'll tell you that much. If he's got a pro license, then, you know, there's hope for us all. I think so. That could be a fight that could happen. Derevyanchenko Eubank, because Derevyanchenko has a name, but he's past his best, and would be. I'd imagine he'd be pretty cheap to get over as well. A prime Valero, he had power, but he was more just pure accumulation. He'd kind of grind you down and beat you up and fuck you up, kind of thing. He'd beat the fight out of you. I like Sam Eggington as well, and I do like Daenerys, but recently he's pissed me off a little bit, Neil, in regards to that Casemiro fallout. But Daenerys a first ballot Hall of Famer. AJ Morningstar, my favourites are Canelo, Joshua, Usyk, Spence, and Teofimo. Yeah, things aren't looking good for Teofimo right now. He's not looking too good on social media. I don't think he should fight anytime soon, put it that way. What do you think of a balding Keith Once Upon a Time Thurman not even stopping Mario Barrios? Yeah, I was disappointed. I felt he started that fight relatively well. Levi, I felt he started relatively well. But you know, after like the 6th rounds, he tailed off. He tailed off and started to get ragged. Hang on. Yeah, we'll see with Zach Parker. We'll see. Yeah, to be fair, Devin Haney he is miles better than Conor Benn, but I think he's referring to like the type of promotion both are receiving from Eddie Hearn. Yeah, I was thinking that as well, Stephen. It's funny you said that. I was thinking the exact same thing. Like his face was jacked up as well, Mario Barrios, in that Thurman fight. Like his nose was swollen, man. His nose was swollen. He looked like a fucking anteater. Ivan Dichko, that's a name you don't really hear much of now. His career's gone absolutely nowhere, and he's a two-time medalist, I believe, in the Olympics. I think he's medaled twice, and he's gone absolutely nowhere. No idea. No idea. No, to be fair, I do think Eubank gave away a lot of rounds from like rounds 5 to 10 because he wasn't doing anything really. Yeah, that was a good fight as well. Lara versus Williams. That was a decent fight, but Lara won that fight. Lara, don't get me wrong. Lara has had a couple of stinkers, but I don't think it's to the extent like to what people say. Like a lot of his fights have been watchable, and to be fair to Lara, when he fights bums, he usually gets rid of them. Unlike Rigondeaux, where he'd go 10 rounds with a taxi driver. Just my opinion. I never really got the dislike of Lara. I'm not saying he's fucking Arturo Gatti or anything, but he's watchable. He's watchable. And that's another fight Andrade could add, by the way, was Lara back in the day. But he never wanted it. I think he's beatable as well, Nordic. I'm not sure about Zach Parker, to tell you the truth. I'm just not sure about Zach Parker. Oh, fucking who's texting me? Fuck's sake. Oh yeah, Larry Olibamiwo. Yeah, he was garbage, man. He was garbage. Absolutely awful. No chin whatsoever. Full of steroids as well. Big Larry, yeah. What was his name? Big O. Big Larry O or something. I don't know. His nickname was stupid. But he was terrible. Yeah, Steve Robinson makes Johnny Fisher look like a legitimate prospect. To be fair to Johnny Fisher, considering he's a raw novice, I don't think he's that bad. I don't think he's like awful. I think he's worth watching. He's worth watching. He's a strong kid. He carries a bit of power. He's relatively athletic. I mean, there's a reason why Joe Joyce had him back for sparring, and that's basically the reason he got signed, was because he done so well against Joe Joyce in sparring. So he might be a diamond in the rough. The thing with Johnny Fisher is they have to take their time. They can't rush that guy. He doesn't have much amateur pedigree, so they have to take their time. But when it comes to Matchroom and matchmaking, I don't think they're the best at it. So you might see Johnny Fisher get pushed a bit too soon. Yeah, the Klitschko's entrance against David Haye was pretty special. Exactly, especially after how he looked in the first four. Like the knockout was there for Chris Eubank Jr. It was there. Yeah, Ultra Tech. I like Ultra. Ultra's a funny dude, man. He's one of my favorite boxing channels, actually. Ultra Tech. He does like live streams. Oh yeah, the Uzi Ahmed. Yeah, Uzi Ahmed walkouts. Yeah, when he got knocked out by I forgot his name, but he done some crazy entrance and he got fucking leveled. Balkan war music be banging, especially My Dad is a War Criminal. I've not heard it, bro. I need to give it a listen. Yeah, I heard the uncle stole a lot of money from Michael Carbajal. That's his brother, right? Yeah. So his brother stole a lot of money and they fell out. Yeah, that's what I heard. I've heard about that. Yeah. I'm not sure, Lee. I'm not sure. I just can't count on Billy Joe now. I don't trust his dedication, his discipline. He's got to lose a lot of weight, from what I've been told. So I'm not sure. I'd feel better if he took a tune-up first. Then I know what we've got left with Billy Joe. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Could you imagine? Could you imagine Edwin Valero at 135 now? He wouldn't get a fight, bro. He would not get a fight. But it's like what's his face? I forget his name. Oh, what's the kid's name? William Zapata. Like to me, that guy looks extremely good at 135. Big southpaw, aggressive, has power in both hands. Um, and Golden Boy are doing nothing with him. Nothing with him at 135. Like he could beat Ryan Garcia now, William Zapata. He could beat Devin Haney now. I think he's that dangerous. I think he looks very good. So yeah, I mean Valero now would not get a fight at 135. Lomachenko would fight him. Lomachenko would fight him, but that's really it. None of the other guys would. I've got Amir Khan, believe it or not. I've got Amir Khan. Amir Khan early on as well. Yeah, that is true as well. Yeah, Barrios did request 10-ounce gloves. Yeah, that is true. And he probably wasn't drained at 147. Oh, yeah, the helmet. Yeah, the juggernaut wrap with the helmet. Yeah, it's crazy. You look like such a fucking idiot. Yeah, I'll be interested to see who he fights next. Um, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight someone like Cody Crowley, who's coming off a really good win. He recently beat Abdu Kakarov, who was highly rated in the IBF. I think Cody Crowley versus Jaron Ennis makes a lot of sense to have that fight next. I think that'd be a good fight. Yeah, Fury definitely gets a bit overhyped, Neil, no doubt about it. I think he's a good fighter, but he definitely gets overhyped. Yeah, Shefat Isafi, yeah, he rocked Billy Joe Saunders. He did. Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Unpopular opinion, Yildirim could have had a chance to beat Billy Joe, and I think he won against Jack Cullen. I think Jack Cullen beat him, to be honest, and I think Billy Joe would comprehensively beat him. I can't agree there. Listen, I think even Alan Babbage would go through Steve Robinson like a doorway. I think Steve would make Alan look like Mike Tyson, to be honest. He is bad, isn't he? He is bad, Steve Robinson. He is bad. Yeah, BDA are great. I like BDA. Sean Newton as well. There's not many channels I don't really like though. There's a few I don't like, but see, I never knew about the killing, Levi. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, that would have been amazing, bro. Can you imagine those two guys in the pocket? Lomachenko's more skilled in the pocket, but Valero is so relentless and carries power. Like that'd be amazing. Like Valero was one of those guys you would literally have to nail that guy to the canvas to keep him there. You know, he was that sort of guy. Yeah, Sakalowski versus Steve Robinson. Even Tommy Walsh would do him. Yeah, he could have done. To be honest, it's hard to say how good Valero would have been, but again, he was fucking relentless. He fought like he took a big line of cocaine, like before a fight. That's how he fought. He was so relentless, and he could just walk through shots, man. Walk through shots. Like there's that fight when he had that terrible cut. Was it DeMarco or Mosquera? One of the two. I think Valero would get to. I think he would get to Cambosos. I think he'd knock him out mid to late. Yeah, DeMarco, that was it. Yeah, DeMarco. Big up to you. Big up to you, West Cork. Big up. Do you know what, Q? I'd actually watch that fight. That fight actually makes sense. He's talking about fucking Chisora Wilder. Leave that alone. Chisora Ortiz actually makes sense. Two guys at the end of their careers, you know, taking a lot of punishment, especially Chisora. That makes sense. That makes sense. That'd be a good fight, actually. I'd watch that. I'd watch that shit. Yeah, he's fighting Emmanuel Tagoe or Tego, however you say his second name. I've seen him fight before. The African dude. He's okay. He's okay. He's a decent boxer, but he's been super inactive. He's been super inactive. I've seen him fight a couple of times actually. He's decent. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. We've been going for an hour, nearly an hour and a half. I think that's long enough for a Monday. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up. I might do a little live commentary for Danny Jacobs and John Ryder. I might do, I might not. We'll see. But yeah, potentially there's going to be a live commentary this weekend. We shall see. But hopefully you guys have a good week. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.